Crypto's longest extreme fear in 3 years. The crypto fear and greed index is still at 15, making 8 days of extreme fear. This is now the longest that we have seen extreme fear within the crypto space, pretty much since the FTX time. Welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the XRP family. You guys are absolutely amazing with the amount of love that you guys show on a regular day-to-day basis. And let's face it, if you're still here, give yourself a pat on the back because right now, we're seeing a very low amount of interest within the crypto space. Again, something we've talked about on the channel quite a bit. And, the fear and greed index is also a key metric that pretty much confirms as, what's going on. But again, remember, there's the famous saying, be greedy while others are fearful, be fearful while others are greedy. The people that are, dollar cost average, especially the long-term accumulators, are the ones that are having that ahead of the curve. Aspect pretty much when it comes to picking up this retracement. But again, as far as XRP, Solana, BNB, some of these coins that are concerned, I've highlighted this in my market analysis update. People think that this bull market did not see altcoins performing. I can sit here talk about so many different altcoins that had, a massive run. It just comes down to how your exit strategy was planned, how diversified your portfolio was. And again, speaking about the price of Bitcoin, Bitcoin obviously is seeing a retracement, and I still think Bitcoin could get down to some of the key levels that I've been talking about. But the biggest question is whether or not this market extension is going to happen. We're going to talk about that once again a little later in this update. But before we do that, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So currently, price of XRP $2.15, down 1.5% on the Bitcoin side of things. Valuation $130 billion almost, and the 24-hour trading volume at about 4.65 billion. But let's kind of go over some of the news first and foremost, and then we'll kind of touch on the price itself. But take a look at this. Bitcoin is down more than 15% this month. BTC is on track, for its most bearish, November since 2019, and it's calling its strongest month, reputation into question. So again, usually November is the best month for, crypto. Quarter 4 is, but this time around, as you guys know, I've discussed this with you guys before. We are seeing Q4 playing completely opposite. But when you kind of zoom out and take a look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is still in the upwards trend, as I've stated to you guys before. We're seeing obviously a pullback right now, and altcoins, again, I can already tell you this. Altcoins are already down quite substantially from the yearly highs that we saw earlier this year. But again, some coins are still holding up quite well, and some actually holding better than Bitcoin itself. And we highlighted that yesterday in the XRP update. If you look at XRP's price on the Bitcoin, comparative side of things, you're actually seeing, a bullish pattern forming on, the XRP BTC pair. And that tells you, what does that tell you? That tells you XRP is holding better than Bitcoin. And again, a lot of people overlook that, believe it or not. A lot of people still end up overlooking that, but that's, something that I try to kind of talk about every single day, in these updates, give you guys a little bit of a better visual. You guys know me. If I think, we're seeing bearish price action, for XRP, which of course, we've been seeing, but again, correlation with the Bitcoin itself. But in this specific moment right now, on the Bitcoin comparative side of things, XRP is actually looking good. And in the grand scheme of things, still, we're seeing a retracement, but, from November of last year, you're still seeing XRP up 323%. So there was definitely coins that did react in a positive way, with Bitcoin and had their time. But again, speaking about the bull market extending, I talked about that in the market analysis update. I would strongly encourage you guys to, watch that video. I pretty much talk about quantitative easing. As you guys know, Feds are, a lot of financial analysts out in the industry are projecting that, QE to start in December. And when and understand QE, you understand that there could be more liquidity that would be available, and that could be flowing into the likes of, the equity markets or crypto, pretty much, riskier assets. So again, if you want to watch more in-depth analysis of that, I went kind of into detail. I would suggest you guys to watch my market analysis update. But QE is starting for the first time pretty much since 2021. I think last time we were in QE was where QE began. That was 2020 to 2021 or early 2022, but that was the time frame. So it's been quite some time since then, and we can, if you guys remember what happened between 2020 and 2021, we actually saw market really seeing quite a big move. As we know, altcoin season really did occur around that time. But this time around, even though we're actually coming closer to the cycle end, this is the first time where QE is starting. So this brings the question whether or not this cycle is going to extend. Bitcoin is something we want to be paying very close attention to, as I've stated to you guys before, because that's going to give us a little bit of a better understanding as well. And again, if Bitcoin drops below some of the key levels, especially below the 78.6, then the upwards trend that we've been in over the last 3 years gets invalidated, then we could be having different conversations. I just don't see that happening because of all the demand that we're seeing with BTC. But again, that is still a level that I'm watching very closely. But take a look at this. Crypto market evolves fundamentals over FOMO. Bitcoin slipped below $90,000, but the market didn't follow the usual deep correction pattern. XRP BTC, the one that I just mentioned, ETH BTC ranges plus balanced top 20 ranking signals a shift fundamentals over speculation. So pretty much, projects with real utility, staking or institutional demand are holding. Obviously, in a grand scheme of things, from all-time highs of Bitcoin, we're still seeing them being impacted, but in comparison to other altcoins, because we know there's millions of altcoins at this point right now, that's also a big component that gets overlooked. Obviously, it's very saturated at this point, but you're seeing utility projects really holding up quite well, and that's also something we don't really want to be ignoring. But take a look at this. Bitwise CIO Matt Hogan says a massive wave of new crypto ETFs is about to hit the market, calling out Solana and XRP are likely next in line. It's gonna be an ETF craze in crypto land. It's already happening. Solana seeing about 6 ETFs, spot ETFs. 5 are already live, and the sixth one, from 21 shares. Wow, so a lot happening. And of course, XRP ETF, which a lot of people are talking about. And, the biggest one of all, Franklin Templeton XRP ETF, that, again, people need to understand that there's still that 20-day waiting period. So again, I think in terms of the launch, it should be early December, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, projections and the excitement for this ETF is insane, because of course we're talking about one of the biggest AUMs out there. So, some people are projecting, as you can see, analysts now projecting Franklin Templeton's EZRP could hit $150 million to $250 million in day one volume, as much as 5x the massive debut of Canary's XRPC ETF. Again, we'll see what happens, but take a look at this. What this means. Franklin Templeton manages $1.53 trillion direct access to pensions, banks, RIAs, wealth managers, institutions. EZRP reaches investors who will never touch a crypto exchange. So pretty much, talking about the potential that could be in, because again, they have 1.53 trillion dollars that they manage under Fidelity, which again itself is not Fidelity, sorry, Franklin Templeton. But let's move forward and see, some other, news. You can see Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong has said that there has been a lot of progress on crypto market structure legislation, and it could pass in December. So, of course, if we were to see that passing in December, that would obviously change the outlook. But we'll see what happens. Maybe by then Bitcoin would see that retracement that we're talking about. We're actually very close to that. We actually might see that much sooner than a lot of people are realizing. But take a look at what Joel Katz says. Shout out to David Schwartz, which of course he's known as Joel Katz. But you can see XRP Ledger was created in 2012. The world of blockchain has changed many, many times over since then. My own thought on governance and consensus models have evolved. I've been, thinking over how XRP is used in DeFi, both, organically with apps and protocols like Flare, More Markets, Xlr, Doppler, etc., and natively on chain. With programmability initiatives and smart contracts discussions underway, it seemed like a good time for us to also discuss what other DeFi capabilities natively could look like. And you can see Jay Ayo also, had a very nice thread about this. If you guys all hold XRP or are interested in the ecosystem itself, would suggest you guys to read the overall post from AO. But let's take a closer look and see what's happening. So as far as the dominance is concerned, you can see we have seen a little bit of an uptick compared to last night's wick down to 58.8%. Bitcoin, on the other hand, you can see for yourself, we did see a 5% push towards the upside since last night. It got rejected at 93,800, pretty much making our way back below the 78, I'm sorry, back below the point 50 into the 61.8. We came down to $90,000 exactly, saw a bounce, but again, target remains to be the same, as you guys know, for myself, and I am anticipating for us to not only just retest 89,000 but break below it and head towards 89,000, I'm sorry, $86,000, which would complete the wave that I've been talking about. But as far as XRP's price is concerned, still holding at $2.14 right now. And what's very impressive, again, a level that I talked to you guys about yesterday, which a lot of people agreed with. And again, thank you for leaving your feedback. It's always appreciated. You can see for yourself, November 18th. Obviously, we were sitting at about $2.10, but that's not the important thing I want you guys to focus on. Most important thing is November 4th. That's where we went down to 206. And even though Bitcoin has dropped below $90,000 over the course of the last a day or two, we still have about 3.4% away for us to retest that November 4th low, which is very impressive. And again, sums up, the momentum that I'm talking to you guys about. But again, so far so good. Of course, we could drop below, 206. That's something very realistic out there. It's not out of the woods. But again, you got to give credit where it belongs with the way things are holding right now. But again, if Bitcoin is able to, break below 89, that's definitely going to have an impact on XRP along with the markets. And this is why I'm still not buying this move that we're seeing. So again, we're going to take it step by step. Let me know in the comments what you guys personally think. And, thank you so much for your support. We'll see you later. Been Crypto ZX, and peace out.